thank you so much for joining me for another Women Crush Wednesday. If you can't tell by my little friend here, today we are going to talk about a very important woman, Jane Goodall, who was a world-renowned British primatologist, anthropologist, and the world's most renowned expert on chimpanzees. Fact number 1. When Jane was a little girl, her father gave her a stuffed chimpanzee named Jubilee, and she credits that gift as the thing that sparked her love for animals. She still has that stuffed animal, and it actually sits on her dresser where she lives in London. Jane had a fascination with the African continent, and in 1957, at the age of 23, she ended up moving to a friend's farm in the Kenyan highlands. Soon after, she connected with Leakey, who is a Kenyan anthropologist and primatologist. They ended up discussing their love of animals, and he wanted to hire her as a chimpanzee researcher. He kept that on the DL though, and he just hired her as a secretary. This is really unique because she had no schooling before this at the time, and there was actually only two people who before her had actually seen chimpanzees in the wild. So they were definitely revolutionizing this study of chimpanzees. Fact number 2. Leakey's plans for Jane soon came to light. He ended up sending her to the Gombe Reserve in Tanzania, where she would study the chimps. In her spare time, he would also pay for her to fly back to London so that she could study primate behavior and anatomy. In 1962, he ended up finding funding for her to attend Cambridge University to get a PhD in euthology. This was very unique because she was actually one of the first people to get a PhD without actually having an undergraduate degree. Fact number 3. Goodall had 2 significant discoveries that challenged long-standing scientific beliefs. Number 1, that humans were the only creatures who could construct and use tools. She actually observed chimpanzees doing the same, constructing and using tools. And number 2, that chimpanzees were vegetarian. She actually saw that they weren't vegetarian and did consume meat. Jane's lack of collegiate training ended up being very important because she didn't have any preconceived notions about the chimps that she ended up spending so much time with. She ended up naming them like Fifi and David Greybeard, and this was really cool because she began to treat the chimpanzees like friends instead of like animals. Jane observed that each chimpanzee had very distinctive personalities, they could exhibit a whole range of emotions, and even had the capacity for murder. It was very cool because she ended up watching Flo, who was one specific chimp. She ended up watching her give birth to her daughter and then raise her daughter, and then that chimp ended up having her own daughter. So throughout her time with the chimps, she ended up observing this whole family and watched them grow up and become a whole family unit. Goodall is, to this day, the only known human who has been accepted into chimpanzee society, and she ended up spending 22 months as the lowest ranking member of a chimpanzee family. Fact number 4. In 1977, Jane ended up founding the Jane Goodall Institute, which creates community-centered conservation efforts around all different nations in Africa. The youth program was founded by 16 different teenagers in Tanzania and Jane, and has now grown to over 100 countries and 10,000 different youth chapters. Fact number 5. Jane has received numerous awards throughout her life, from the Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire to the United Nations Messenger of Peace, and has had a huge impact on popular culture. She has appeared in The Simpsons. She played herself in an episode of The Wild Thornberrys. She appeared in a very controversial Far Side cartoon and has been commemorated by Stevie Nicks in song form. Just this October, a new documentary called Jane has been released, and it is very, very incredible. You should definitely go out and see it. It is still in theaters right now. While Jane's research continues at the University of Minnesota, the Institute's Center for Primate Research, Jane actually, at the age of 83, now travels nearly 300 days a year because she is now devoted all of her time to being an advocate for chimpanzees and for the environment. Thank you so much for joining me and my little friend here for another Deb's Women Crush Wednesday. And because we all need to do what we can in order to help heal our environment, how about you go out and do one thing today in order to help the world? Pick up that bottle and put it in the trash, or more importantly, how about you put it in the recycle bin? Because we all need to do what we can in order to heal the world around us. Thank you so much, and I will see you next Wednesday.